Good evening. Welcome to the Historic Preservation Commission, May 6, 2025. Can I call this to order, and may I have roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dodson.
Present.
Commissioner Goings.
Present.
Commissioner Dietrich.
Also present.
Commissioner Hernandez.
Not here. Excused.
Okay. Commissioner Rowland.
Present.
Commissioner Amos.
I'm here.
Commissioner Gunnelson.
Present.
Commissioner Hunt.
Present.
Commissioner Bianchi.
Excused.
And Commissioner Watkins. Present. We do have a quorum.
All right. Would you, everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everybody have an agenda, and we will, someone making a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Goings?
Second, Amos.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion is approved. Approve of the minutes from 4/1/2025. That was sent to you in email.
Motion to approve the minutes, Hunt.
Chris?
Second, Amos.
Hunt and Amos, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Citizens' comments, thank you all for being here. Thank you.
One at a time, please.
There's nobody behind the polls, is there?
Yeah.
Only one at a time.
Okay, standing committee, Mr. Hunt, Commissioner Hunt.
Just real quick tonight, I don't have any new names to add to our list of veterans for our buried in OFallon Cemetery, so nothing came in last month. I believe the Guthrie Burying Ground, there's an update from Tanya that's supposed to come maybe later in the meeting.
Yes, that's later. Yeah, that's that's right after, yeah, that's number 4.
Okay, so I'll let her take care of that.
Okay.
And then last but not least, we had a work day today out at Sage Chapel with the VFW, and it was a really, really good turnout. Place looks great, and we were only out there for a couple hours, but we accomplished quite a bit. I was out there, Don was out there, and as was Rick, so that was great. I did meet a lady out there who was interested in helping take care of some of the graves. So our understanding, I guess the city does all of the mowing out there, but they don't typically get really close to the graves out of respect. And her and another lady that Rick and I met offered to take up the care around the graves. But we didn't know if Rick and I could just give our blessing for that or if we needed to take it higher up since she would be on city property.
I think that might be something Tanya would want to talk to our parks director about, just to make sure, and just have it so that, like, maybe they have a know when they're going to be doing it. So if there's somebody walking along the graves with, a hatchet or something, that everybody's on the same page on why they're out there. Yeah.
Right, that's kind of what I expected, and I told them to stand by that we'd get some answers, hopefully either tonight or at, next meeting.
Okay.
But that would be great for them if they were willing to do it. They live close by, and they said they'd be happy to help keep the cemetery in good shape.
Sure. I mean, I can't imagine it being a thing. I know before the city owned it, was that Phyllis's family?
Yeah.
That took care of, just make sure that the graves didn't get grown over and things. So I would hope that they would allow that, but it's not a decision I can make.
Well, on that note, Amy, I believe they would just kind of keep because they don't get too far because of the flowers are there, and just to keep that grass from getting so high where you can see the stones. I think they want to just keep that cleaned up in that area there.
Okay.
Which is a good deal. And also on that note, I will go to Bowie Funeral Home and see if they will maybe donate some little plaques. There's some plastic little signs out there that are starting to fall apart with the people's names. They never update to a monument. So we could see if we can get maybe 3 donated so we can have those names put on there. And the other thing, Amy was out there too. Thank you for being out there.
Yeah, sorry, Amy.
Oh, no, that's fine.
And we also had a gentleman out there that donated the food and the drinks, and he also is willing to donate a metal sign of whatever we might need out there. Make a big metal sign. The old cemeteries used to have that. I mean, that's something we might be able to work with. Lexus and them were making the grant. Can work with that and see what we might need to. I think it would really neat. Even when we got the Boy Scout there, a metal sign would really be kind of cool because they all used to have metal signs.
Okay,
And I have his name and business card. I'll get to you.
that's cool.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me this week. or
Okay,
this month.
thank you. Thank you for listening to that. Okay. Commissioner Rowland,
No report.
no report. Commissioner Amos.
Well, we will begin pursuing these applications and trying to get some more properties that will have plaques put up for the historic building.
We should start with the Goodwood, because we already approved their nomination, and we already have a plaque waiting for them. We have plaques. Yeah. Do you know where those are, Amy? Are they?
Yes, they're in a storage area in our basement here at
Yeah.
City Hall.
Yeah.
And I think
I
Amy's
think-
going to talk about Goodwood at the end.
Yeah, I think we have about 10.
Yeah.
I went down there and found them. I found the original bill that came with them. I don't know when they ordered them. I guess maybe 8-9 years ago, and they were like $500 each. So they're like, and that was a while back that they were that expensive. So they're pretty nice.
Well, I'm sure the prices have gone down since.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure they have. So I think, I think we had talked about, making sure that whoever they get awarded to just is an interested party and not just here, I'll take the plaque and then go melt it down or whatever you do with it.
Well, they have to do a little work on their part to
Yes.
to get it too, and they have to actually be presented in front of. It has to be presented in front of the council. So yeah.
But we have one that's approved that's
Yes.
waiting to get installed.
Yes.
And it was approved under the old owners, McGurk's, who did not participate in the process, so we never put the plaque up.
Yep.
Okay.
Jan, I think that was you that did that application. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah. So we will go to Amy for a number for the Guthrie Cemetery update, please.
So Tanya had spoken with our code enforcement supervisor just to follow up from our last meeting. And they were sent info, the subdivision HOA sent the code enforcement manager info on a new management company that's taking over that. And they have until May 30th. That's when the next inspection will be. And they actually said they're like bidding it out for getting that cleaned up. They weren't going to do it. The management company wasn't doing it. So hopefully they'll have everything done, but there's going to be another inspection on May 30th.
Thank you, Anna. And I think there was an inspection also done at Sage Cemetery also, and they are working on that. Volunteer, because that fence fallen down, and then there's another area of the fence that's fallen down, and services will be taking care of that too with the city. So we can keep these cemeteries clean. Thank you, Amy. And then Amy again, West Off Grain and Mercantile.
All right. Well, it's the Amy show. West Off Grain and Mercantile, or Goodwood next door. So at the last council meeting on the 24th, the ordinance was approved. And so just today, I was copied on an email from the manager next door, and they're planning on doing something probably, I mean, it could be any time because the weather's sort of turned nice if you don't count the rain. So they're going to do something, and as soon as we have like a date and a time, all the historic preservation commissioners will be invited, and it's just going to be like they're going to send it out to news crews and everything with the plaque presentation. I think they were talking about having the mayor present it and all kinds of, what did you call that? A gala? John called it that. We're going to have a gala for our presentation, so.
I think I've changed my mind. Shindig is ringing.
Shindig is
A
good,
shindig.
too. Yeah,
Gala. We all vote for gala. Okay.
hoot and holler, we're gonna. So, anyway, as soon as we have more details, we will definitely be passing those on. And hopefully they're sooner than later, but. that's
Okay,
And then,
thank you for that. And now, the grant application.
all right, so we finished on April 25th. The grant application was due to the state for the educational brochures, and that was turned in. We had to provide some documentation. One of them was like Rick had to sign a letter that said the Preservation Commission endorsed us pursuing grants with the state, and then we had to also have council approve a resolution that said that the city did support us going out to get grants with the state. So I think we dotted all of our I's and crossed our T's, so hopefully we'll get that. I think we'll hear back within the next couple of months. I don't think it's as long. Before, when we got the grant, when we did the ground penetrating radar out there at Fort Zumwalt Park, I think it was when some funding got pulled, or it might have been during COVID, right at the beginning of COVID, I think. And so we didn't get answers for a really long time, but I think that they're a lot quicker now. So I will let you know when I hear something.
Okay, thank you on that. And then, well, I know you got to talk on number 7, but while I'm thinking about it, just to let you know, through today with the Sage Cemetery, that was, Channel 4 was out there, so it'd probably be on the news tonight if you watch Channel 4. And also, Communications was out there too from City of O'Fallon. Cool. I'm thinking of that. Okay, Amy, again, please, while you're doing that, I'm going to walk down there, okay?
You thought you were doing the presentation. So just today, I was copied again on an email to Tanya about the traffic signal cabinet agreement that they're doing with the state. It's kind of in their court, and he apologized for it, just taking so long. That they have a lot of legalese to go through. So it's still in the works. It's not been dropped. I think it'll eventually happen. It's just government, and it's a lot of back and forth. So hopefully sooner than later we'll have an agreement in place, and then we can get going on the 2 applications that we have on the state-owned boxes.
And those actually we've already approved. So
We're just waiting.
they should be ready to go as soon as that agreement's in place.
Okay. Yeah, but I can't imagine it having a whole lot more to iron out because it's been, a month.
I thought that 6 months ago, though.
Yeah, that's true.
It is government.
It is government.
What are you saying about government?
Government takes longer. Thank you, Amy. You should have just took over the meeting, really. All right, with that, I'm going to do a presentation tonight on the Heald family. With the help, since we've been working on the home, the Heald home for its dedication of becoming maybe a historical landmark. We've been, Tanya, Amy, and Janet and I have been working on a lot of, grabbing a lot of information. And so I thought I'd do the Heald tonight, and I'll try not to be as long as John, but I guarantee I'll be longer. All right, when it comes to this presentation. the legacy, I'm going to starts out with the Fort Zumwalt. And its early masters still linger among the inhabitants of St. Charles County, Missouri. Within its walls, according to local tradition, the ghost of Nathan Boone Zumwalt was once the stalk when tragedy impended the Zumwalt family. Marcia Williams tells the story of how Nathaniel Boone Zumwalt, named for Captain Nathan Boone, son of Daniel, was killed while out hunting by an accidental discharge of his gun. Therefore, when death or danger impeding the Zumwalts, his ghost is said to have haunted the old fort. One night, as the legend goes, Zumwalt's child lay sick in the fort. A cousin watched beside the child's bed. Suddenly, a presence manifested itself in the doorway. The features of the apparition would be traced. The cousin had never seen Nathan Boone Zumwalt, but when came the dawn, this relative recounted to the members of the household a description that tailed with that of the Zumwalt son who had been killed while hunting. The sick child had suddenly died while the apparition yet lingered in the doorway. Then the Zumwalts live out, and then what happened was, this is interior of Fort Dearborn, which is now Chicago. This is where the Nathan and Rebecca Hill came into play. And then it came into their story of Rebecca Wells and her uncle, Captain William Wells, up there in Dearborn in the fort. They were actually, I think she was shot 5 or 6 times. He was injured in the leg. The Indians captured him, and you got to realize the British was actually supporting the Indians with the guns and everything like that. And they ended up finding their way down here. He didn't want to go to the British to ask for help, but they were both Masons and ended up being Masons. So that brotherly love, as they say, took place and helped him guide himself down here. A lot of the things, the items that was stolen by the Indians was recaptured and is now in the Chicago Museum. Here is a picture of Nathan. No picture of him, but he's actually, this is his stone here in Zumwalt. This is the picture of Rebecca. And the thing, and then she's something else. You know, she was a tough woman. She was really a tough woman. Then Nathan and Rebecca had 3 kids, Jim, Mary, I think it was Rebecca, and then Darius. And the 2 girls died, but Mary was married to this young man here, which was David McCausland. And this is the book out that was written about him. And he is buried in Zumwalt Park in Stony. Now here we go. And here's one of the jokes that this is Amy's outlining here. This is the Rebecca Wells, what she did to Nathan. She pulled a prank on him, and she found a dead Native American Indian in the back, and so she put him up against the tree. So when he'd be walking out and around, he'd see him and scare him. And she did quite a few of those little. She was a prankster.
She was kind of a sick lady.
I was reading some of her story earlier today that she was really strong, even when she was a captive Indian and with the Indians. She didn't want to put up with any of them people.
She sewed in stuff into her M's.
Yeah.
When they carried him off.
Yeah. So they were very interesting people. And then we get into this goes into the Zumwalts, but actually what we're doing is gradually getting into the Mount Zion, where the Mount Zion actually came about. And Mount Zion Church was started there on the property. It was Mount Zion Society. And Mount Zion becoming the Methodist was actually started. The O'Fallon Church, the Winsfield Church, and the Flint Hill Church were all started out of Fort Zumwalt. Let's see, go down here. Now, this is what I found as I was telling Don about and the guys today, that I found out in the Berry. And this is talks about there's an Indian burial ground out there in, actually in the cemetery there. And it was the McConkey Indians that are buried there on the south side of, actually the south side of Mount Zion Cemetery. And there's no markers or tombstones, but there's a burial mound out there, and we need to get a hold and talk to the, I think Dennis is his name, up that runs that cemetery, and find out more about that. Where it is. And then back here, this is how I ended up getting involved in O'Fallon, because one of the oldest tombstones in there is Henry Van Berkelo, which was a family member from my family, and that's how I started getting into this stuff. And the Van Berkelos, of course, their old cemetery was also where Berkelo bowling alley is, up there on the hill, like in between O'Fallon and St. Peter's. So on Darius Hill, so what I have dates is what I'm doing is the dates. So this next one is Darius Hill actually was a state legislator in 1856. Okay, and this next one tells you, and we worked with the Senate up there and found this out. The bill was written in 1856, but actually introduced February 13th, 1857. And then it was truly agreed on in February 20th, 1857, and then signed by Governor Polk February 21st, 1857. And this actually, you get into that, it tells everything about hunting here in St. Charles County. And that is really neat. And I actually believe, pardon me?
They moved faster between the dates than government works now.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, when I was reading some of this, they had to take some of this, and when they made a state legislation for the whole state. Okay, then we're back here at Darius Hill and his house when he was living at the fort, and his family. And this looks like it's the two boys and a girl and daughter and his dog. You look at that, and when you look at this cabin, there was another cabin that was just like this that was built, and it was where the quarry was, and that was the Wells family. It was built the same German style, and it was a duplicate of this. Now you get into now we're getting into the Civil War. Darius Hill, this is his records, and this is from Fanny Oddie Hill. This is her records of her dad, and this tells about when he joined Price's Army in the winter of 1862. Among those listed were Samuel McShaney, Dennis McShaney, Edward Hunter, Jim Johnson, Mill Wallace, and Harvey Matson. He drilled them at the Dardenne Prairie, St. Charles County, Missouri during this year. The federal troops came into the district, and these boys tried to break through and join Price's army. I think it said several did, and one being my uncle, Edward Hunter. The other of the taken positions and went to California. Okay, that's where Darius and them actually, he ended up sending his kids to California to get out of the war. Then we go to the backside of that letter, and it says that these were nothing but small boys, the drilling of these troops, which was pretty, it's kind of heart. They were just boys, just kind of heartfelt there. Then I get into when the Civil War broke, Darius serving as a captain on the company of Confederate. This is where his Southerners into the Civil War of the South. The Union Army found out about this plan, and Darius was summoned to St. Charles and required to pay. This is the one you see in your books. I think this is from the docent thing, and he was fined $2,000, and then they had to take the oath of loyalty to the United States government. $2,000. They were finding a lot of money back in those days. If you go back through those records, it was a lot of money. That was a lot of money. But there's some stories missing through some of this stuff. I mean, we have it all here now, but it's kind of cool. This is one of my favorite. Darius Hill was actually, I passed something up. I know I forgot to say. On the legislation, Darius Hill had 2,500 acres down here on the bottoms, and he used to shoot bison, and he used to shoot the deer and the fowl. And he was a very avid hunter, and he was actually a great shot. He is a marksmanship. I forgot to tell you about this. But he also invested in Mount Zion Society, and he invested in Richard H. Pittman, and our Pittman Road is named after Pittman, Richard Pittman. Richard Pittman and Marvin Keithley at one time owned both properties there over there on Pittman there. And then in 1878, they erected Woodlawn Female Seminary. And I don't know how I got my pictures. I might have them messed up because it was a smaller screen. But the Woodland Female Cemetery of the schools was kind of a state. And Darius Hill was there was a lot of them that were very interested in developing the O'Fallon area. And they put their money where their mouth was, you know. And education was a big thing. So here is the school. And here's the girls. You see, and there's boys there. Now they did teach boys down the road. They did teach a bunch of boys there. Through the records I found through the Times that some of these kids did. They had a great education there. That is actually that teacher right there, the tall guy with the big beard, is Joseph Pritchett. He was a good friend of the Keithleys, and I have a picture of him in the Keithleys book. And then here's another one with all the girls sitting out. So I think this should have been in front of that. And this man right here is not Mr. Pittman. It is W.C. Williams. And he was Dr. Williams. And his property over here on the side is Williams Addition. And they're the same Williams family that gave the Methodist Church the property there on Pittman. And then here's a picture of Woodlawn. Oops. And then here's a picture of Woodlawn. And then here I found this. And I have always thought this, and then when I ran across this yesterday, this is by Dr. Brown, had published this. And I really appreciate Dr. Brown's work through the years. And I believe these freed slaves were Darius Hill's also. And here's Darius in his younger days. This is the Grand Lodge of Missouri. This is he was one of the signers of the Jordan Lodge number 124. It started in Cotterville for 3 years. Then they built their building, and which is what we call Goodwood, was the Westhoff building. And let me see, he's not on here, he's on another paper. But the original building, okay, yeah. So this is him. He's on here as a signer to start this Masonic Lodge. And then here his old demit from the Hiram Lodge in St. Charles. William Lewis of Lewis and Clark was also part of that lodge down there. And then here is the young men who, here in O'Fallon, you can see W.C. Williams, David Schultz, the Gill from out there across from the Campbell family. Darius Hill was a treasure. Rufus Gamble, which that's his writing, which is awesome. But Rufus Easton actually built the first house in 1860 where the Westhoff building is. And they used part of that building to actually and Gamble Street is after him over here too. E.A. Jones, he was a pharmacist, ended up being a pharmacist, I think, out of out Montgomery City. His father was Janet would know that. His father was Daniel Boone's doctor. And then Mervyn Keithley, which lived on the Keithley farm up there, and which his building is what is the cabin of the museum was in, and then you got Daniel. So that they started this, and this is one of the rosters from 1870. He ended up being involved and been involved with that article, doing that too, but and being in Masons, and they met on a Saturday preceding of the full moon. And started in 1867. This is 1870. They closed in 1885. They shut down. I don't know where he went after that. But in 1882, they sold the building to the Westhoffs. This is a family porch. You see it, them all sitting Darius Hill up there, and the ladies, husband. You see all that. That's up there. Actually, that was taken from the Hill home. I took that picture from the Hill home when I was up there visiting during the Revolutionary War deal. This right here is Fanny Oding Harold. This is her baptism, the youngest daughter of Darius Hill. You can see it's at Mount Zion. Methodist South. Darius Hill's signature, and the pastor at the time was Mr. Thomas Newby. This is Darius Hill, 1893, holding his father's sword, among other relics. Let's see, what year am I in? 1904. Here's the 1904 map, and if you look at the map, you see the little rectangles on there. You can see survey number 55, which was the Healds, and survey number 17, I think that's 66, or that was that's the Keithleys, and they touch in, and 1904 is very interesting. And I thought of this morning. Darius Hill was known for his horses, even though that's the year he died. So he's known for his horses in 1904, and he was showing his horses, and he received down at the World's Fair, and he received all these silver cups. And what else happened in 1904 at the World's Fair from O'Fallon? The sisters ended up getting an award for the 1904 fair, too. And I thought that was pretty cool. We had two people here from the 1904, two organizations here, that actually received honorables from the 1904 World's Fair. This right here is when they sold the property in 1906, I think it is. So this is the Heald family. You can see part of it. Number 6, they're survey 55, and part of this survey, other 55. You can see the square, and it goes down, and you can see how they added on. And then over here was the summit to the back to the bottom of the page. You can see that's the cemetery, and there's a spring over there actually where Mount Zion is, and that was part of the Zumwaltz, and that was actually donated by Darius Hill. A lot of people say different things, but actually on the records it actually shows as Darius Hill. You can see how big this is. You see that long rectangular in the middle of number 3, and it has like a little house in there. It's only 10 acres. That is actually the Hill home. And you see 32 and 33, that is actually where the cemetery is, Stony Point. This is the DAR meeting at the home of Mrs. Williams, and you can see all the Williams, the McClures, which were all part of the Heald family. This is Fanny Odie. She was in the records. This is all her paperwork that we actually been getting, all her writings. We've been studying. We went down to Missouri and researched and received all that. She actually died, I think, 60 or something like that. She died young of the rest of them. This is her paperwork when she was doing the research on the Heald family and their relation to, they are part of the John Adams, President John Adams and President Quincy Adams. So this is going back and her doing all that work on the presidency. We received all this. We have all this. Some of these names are, you got to go back and you got to go back and you got to go back and you got to go back. But they were related to, and Darius Hill always told the kids about their lineage on the presidents. Okay, this right here, this is their revolutionary family. Was the Thomas Hill, the Samuel Wells, the John Odie, the Callaway, the Guattons, from Janet Guattons, William Matthews, and John Hunter. This is all their Revolutionary War family. And it's pretty neat to see all that stuff. And there's a few things down there that we could not really look at because it was really brittle and it fell apart in the folds. And trying to place it back together, it was really tough, you know, to find out what went in with the type of writing they had. This is from one of the pieces I got from Tanya. So you go down here and you see where Darius Hill was married to Caroline, and you see the family line go down, and you see where he went to Martha Hunter, and you go down. Now you have anybody over here from North County. You go back and you see Rebecca Hell, Mary Arthur McClure, and you go down from that and you see Virgil C. McClure. That is McClure High School. He was a professor that was named, and that's who he was named after. Then you go back here and you see they had the Revolutionary War thing, the monument, or the markings over the last 2 weekends ago. So that is the house. That's where we are today. That is Jacobs, Zumwalt Revolutionary War. And it was a nice thing if anybody got a chance to go out. And I don't know when the video is going to come out, but I'm sure the communications there taking a lot of pictures. It was really nice. Great turnout. Then here's the Heald home. And then here is, this is the Revolutionary War Patriots. This is the only marker west of the Mississippi. And it's here in O'Fallon. Because the Revolutionary War, you guys need to, before it leaves in the May, try to go out there and see it at the museum out there, the city of, the county museum. St. Charles County Museum has the Revolutionary War that's been there almost over a year and a half, and they're getting ready to leave. And it talks about how the Revolutionary War took place here. And even though we were not in the United States, we still had a war. And then here is me and my colleague Janet sitting down, studying down at the museum.
Oh, yeah.
Which one's you?
Yeah, you see the resemblance?
Yeah, so we had fun.
Rick?
Yeah.
Dr. Jones that you mentioned, the first one,
Yeah.
his wife was Martha, and that's where Marthasville came from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was murdered. I think he was murdered.
Yes.
But he was murdered. Yeah.
Pritchett, you mentioned, they had a plantation in outside of Wright City.
Okay.
Move more east this way before you get to Forestdale.
There was a lot of prominent people, and there's a lot of people. J.C. Edwards wasn't on that paper there. There was a lot of prominent people, and if you go back to the old 1870s map of O'Fallon, and you can see when they were building the Krekel addition over here on the side, you can see where the Masonic Lodge was, and you can see the names besides the Molitor that the people who were building the city of O'Fallon.
Yeah, and Zumwalt's statement was why he sold that to the Heels was he could see a chimney. To Oregon, and
Yeah.
my husband's mother is kin to the Zumwalts. Some of them went to Paris. I think this one went to Clear.
There was people from the Zumwalt family that actually I went to high school with. I had no idea.
Right, there must
You
be
know,
about 8 people there. Yeah.
the Hawkins, they were Hawkins, yeah.
Well, and just with my military background, I wanted to figure out if anybody knows if Admiral Elmo Zumwalt was a Zumwalt.
He was. Admiral was, there was a boat named after him.
Yeah.
And actually, when they did in 2005, I think it was, there was a big, when it was rebuilt, right after the fort was rebuilt, they had a big thing, and they actually, Cheryl Hibbler and Pat Swinger and them did a big thing on, published a big thing on that Zumwalt, Admiral Zumwalt.
They did a calendar.
Yeah,
And the Zumwalt family got like
And with
30,
the
asked
Admiral on
for,
it.
bought 30 copies. It was a fundraiser for the
Yeah.
Historic Society.
Yeah, so they had that on, they had a story about Admiral Zumwalt being,
I saw something and I was like, ooh, I wonder.
And the USS Zumwalt is not just a boat, it's actually a whole new class of
Yeah.
naval destroyers.
destroyers, yeah.
Right now, there's only one, but there's supposed to be a total of 5.
Cool.
Well, actually, those two of the Zumwalt girls, like 10 years ago or so, they came here and stayed for, was it a year? Yeah, and wrote the history and things. They were here for quite a while, because they would come to our meetings. Very neat. It's been quite a while.
there was some work paper I did that I have from somebody in 2003, I think it was, some of their publications. Because everybody takes a lot of this information and they write different things.
All right, but it's been quite a while since they've been here.
Yeah. But I,
There might have been some of them that was back a couple weeks ago. I thought I recognized a couple of the girls that came back for this ceremony.
and it's nice we have the docents. You docents, you know these docents that are those family members that want to be here, and that's really nice that they're here and helping.
I unfortunately forgot about the ceremony, and so I didn't go, but I did talk to one of the Zumwalt descendants because her and I became friends, and she said they were all running around, first wife, second wife. They were trying to figure out where they fit into the Zumwalt.
They also had T-shirts. A lot of them came in from. I met some from Illinois, different parts of Illinois. They had family T-shirts on the heels and the Zumwalts.
Yeah, they all got a red, white, and blue ribbon
Yep, they did.
to note that they were Zumwalts.
It was really a nice presentation. But I look forward to seeing that video on that. Okay. So I am done with that. There's more than this too. There's a lot of slides. There's more than. I might just add them to this just to have them saved because we have a lot of their documents and we're probably going to get more because these people were here over 100 years and they really need to be recognized for their work and not just their work, their investment. They invested in many things around here that aren't talked about, Okay, with that, I'm moving up and John can talk until I get to my chair. Thank you.
I've got a joke for everyone. Are you guys ready? It's not really a joke, it's more of a statement. I remembered this from Trick or Treat when I had a little girl come up and said, some people think runny noses are funny, but they're snot. Thought I'd share that one.
That was clean.
It's clean. It's the only clean one I know, so I had to go with that one. Amy liked it. She's crying now.
She's crying for another reason, friend.
Okay, I'd like to give a big thank you out. She's not here tonight, but Linda Ragsdale for being a part of our council. Liason, thank you, Linda, for being with us for a couple years. I know we're going to see you again, and I know you're over at Goodwood during the week. And with that, I'd like to also welcome our new council member, Debbie Cook. Thank you, Debbie. Really, you've been around for several years here now, and you're also out of my ward, and I thank you for being on this commission. I hope you have fun. I know you filled in for Linda one time.
Actually looking forward to it. I really am enjoying the history. You guys are so knowledgeable, and I'm really, really looking forward to what I can learn.
And half of what we say is true.
We sell it well.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you to be on here because we have a lot. Some people talked to me today at the Sage, and they said you really have a great commission. I said we really do have a great commission. We have a good group. We have a good committee members on different projects. So With that, I thank you. But communications guys back there, you know, we need you, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate all the things that you promote for us too. So I wanted to say that too, because you do let the community know what we are doing also. So
Thank you.
with that, anybody have anything else?
We have a guest. She slid in while you were.
She's with Chris. They got a meeting. Yeah.
Oh, so sorry. Citizen comments are closed.
You'll have to wait till next week, come on.
Well,
I just want to add, a couple weeks ago, a reporter from Mid Rivers News magazine, I probably should have said this more on the Goodwood celebration, gala, shindig, whatever we all called it.
Hootenanny.
Hootenanny. She called and had a phone conversation with Rick, and I was on the phone call, and I listened. I didn't really have much to add, but there's going to be an article published in Mid Rivers News magazine by Ruby Keller, and so she got some information and asked about pictures and things like that. So if you get it, or if you see it in like the grocery store bins and stuff, I don't know when it'll come out, but there'll be a article on it. And maybe she's waiting until we have the big presentation to put, you know, pictures from that in it. I don't know. But Rick took the time and he talked to her quite a while, so it was kind of nice. Told her about how important that was to O'Fallon.
and we also have, you had said that we had, so we're supposed to, if things don't arise tonight, we're supposed to be on Channel 4 tonight on Sage, but we also had Sage Chapel. Channel 4 also did another big program on Sage Chapel that it hasn't aired yet, I think. Right?
I haven't known of it airing. I haven't heard
Well, they
anything about
usually
it.
let us know, so as far as I know, it hasn't aired.
Yeah, if I hear anything, I'll let everybody know.
All right.
We're on a high momentum thing. We got a lot of things going that are,
We're kind of a big deal.
we are a big deal now. It took us a long time, but we are.
We are. Everybody, all you guys really count, and it's really great to work with you guys. So that's what, and we're all going to make this work, and share with the community what we have. We need, we really do need to come up with better ways to educate, and hopefully we are able to do that when we get our grants get through and we get more money coming in and we increase our budget. And
I would say with the grant thing, be thinking about places that you think should be on there. I don't know how many we'd put on there. I would think like 5, maybe. I don't know. But everybody will have to kind of be assigned one. And so that was one of my points that I probably should have brought up earlier, but that if you do have time to think about some of the places as you're driving around that should be included in the brochures that we are hopefully going to be able to do.
Back when Tim Deneen was on our council, he had a book of all properties that were over 100 years old in O'Fallon.
Where's Tim at? Let's get it.
Fortunately passed away.
Yeah, that's
so.
what I thought. So who's the family member?
I did reach out to the family, and it's all packed up in a box, and I did ask them if they ever come across it, please let me know, and they have my phone number. And so if they do, we'll have that. There's a lot of information Tim had,
There's a lot of houses on Woodlawn that's on that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that he had on that.
well, and Rick and John said that the building that my boss owns for Angels on Duty is,
Right,
You're on the list.
that's one.
it's a Sears.
It's
I'll
a
take
Sears
care of
house.
making sure that one gets,
Yeah, it's a Sears house.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's Amy's on that, and
And there's another Sears house on Woodlawn too.
yeah, there's several on Civic Parkway too.
Yes.
Yeah, there's 3 of them, I think, on Civic Park.
And I saw the list, but
I have the list at
I have
home.
the list, 'cause
Yeah.
I don't know. where-
If they don't have the list, I have a list.
That's
I will
the
send that
you
list
had was
out.
The list he had, I think.
Yeah, I have Tim's old list.
Right, well, that's what he had.
Yeah. So we'll get that list out. so that can start working on it so school's out and there's more time with some of our commissioners. Anything else we need to discuss? I'm trying to make it 7:15 before Chris has to leave now. With all that, I will close. Good night.
It was Lori Stevens who started it, and then